Test, 1, 2, 3. Test, 1, 2, 3. What's going on, team? It's Ricky with TechBud Solutions. Hope that you guys are all having an amazing Sunday. I hope that you guys are prepared for a really big and exciting trading week. There's a lot of big and very popular companies that are publicly traded, of course, that are going to be reporting earnings this upcoming week. This week and next week are two of the biggest weeks for earnings. You guys know, if you guys have ever watched any of my videos, this is one of my favorite times of the quarter to trade. I love when companies report earnings, especially when they're bullish companies and they pull on back, right? So I have a couple different stocks in my watch list. I wanted to kind of break them down with you guys. And also I wanted to break down any stock that you guys see value in. So if you're tuning on in, especially if you're tuning in live, please make sure that if you want me to break down your stock, all you literally have to do is comment in the live chat, right? Also, for those that are tuning in for the first time, welcome to our Sunday Stock Talk. I go live every single Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on your post notifications so you get alerted when it is that I go live. One of the last things that I want to share with you guys is we've been having a lot of people that follow me on Instagram message me and asking for a live trading link. So friendly reminder, this is for people that have never watched me trade live. So if you're new to my channel and you have never watched me trade live, I trade live every single day at market open. And it's normally exclusive to the LPP team. I give you a one-time access, and all you literally have to do is message me on Instagram. So you should be able to refresh your screen, and in the description, it has my Instagram. You don't have to send me any fancy message. I respond to all of my direct messages. Just be like, yo, Rick, I want to tune on into tomorrow's live trading session. Send me the link. That simple. So as long as you send that on over to me, I go live at market open. So you just need to make sure that you set your alarm and wake up at the time. I'm only going to give you access for free one time. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'm going to say what's up to a couple of you guys. If you guys, again, just want to introduce yourself or share where it is that you're from, feel free to do so. What's going on? Is it Joanne? What's going on? MJ? What's going on? Treasured the 98. Ken, Hall, Anthony, what's going on? David, Rita, Chris, YS, Anthony, Jack, Julia, Orlando, Treasure, Tommy 2, the 98 Goose, what's going on? The Good, Chad. So, hey, Rick, I'm an LPBNS. I can't figure out how to watch the live stream. So, message me on Discord. Again, we post it every single morning within our private Discord chat. So, just either message me on Instagram or message me via Discord. But it's one of the first or second sections of the course that gives you access to it. So what's going on? Landon, Abdullah, what's going on? Julian, David, was it Raleigh? Sorry about that. Trenton, what's going on? Daniel, what's up? Alexander, Menorca. Oh, I'm really sorry about that. But yeah, I really do appreciate you guys taking time and joining me right now. So let's go ahead and just jump right to it. I don't want to take any more of your guys' time. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. We're going to start off with ticker symbol BNTX and Airbnb. So DNTX and then ABNB. So DNTX. I don't know if that was typed out correctly. DNTX. It doesn't look like it's popping up on my side. So we're just going to go to Airbnb. Here we go. So Airbnb on the day chart. So one of the first things that I like to personally pay attention to, it's up to you guys if you guys agree or disagree. I like to focus on really good deals, and I like to focus on consistency and something offering, a bullish pattern. When I look at something like Airbnb right now, first off, it hasn't traded for a very long period of time. We can see that its IPO was late 2020. It peaked at 220. It pulled back to lows of 130. And it looks like it's experiencing somewhat of a resistance. Would you guys agree? Right around 180, right? So it's struggling to break above 180. We can set an alert here. But the reason that this is so important is because it's not just about, hey, what stock should I buy? But asking the question, when's the best time to buy it? And when something's already indicating signs of a resistance level, meaning that it's experiencing, just this this inability to be able to break above or trade above that specific price point. You can see that it got rejected there, it got rejected there, so there's a very strong resistance level. It's approaching a previous resistance level that used to act as a previous support level, and it wouldn't be much of a surprise if we get rejected right back down here. So I need to make sure that these are some effective alerts, and that if we do begin to pull on back, that great, right? It's not that the whole reason of these live streams are not that you have to buy these stocks right now, but the beautiful thing about you asking about Airbnb is for you to create an effective watch list and set effective alerts so you are reminded on when it is that the stock is pulling back and or when it begins to trade above a certain price point that would be significant to you. At the end of the day, right, you add whatever stocks you see value into your watch list, but it's not just adding them to your watch list that's useful, but it's setting effective alerts so you follow up with them and understand when it is that it's going according to plan and or when they're pulling on back, and maybe then you can remove them from your watch list, right? So we'll just make sure that we set alerts on both sides, just like we know that there's two sides to every opportunity. So let's make sure that we're aware of that. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So BNTX. You didn't have to donate, but I appreciate it. So BNTX. Here we go. So on the day chart, this looks a little bit different. So on the 4-hour time frame, we can see that it's been getting rejected. I'm not really big on, this is just me. So these are like, yeah, this is a biotech, right? Looks like it shot up from 193 to highs of 464. For me, when was this? Was this last year? No, that was this year. So it peaked at 464. I'm trying to look at this now on the day chart. 1 second. It looks like it has been somewhat consistent, but I wouldn't view this to be a super stable company, right? This would be something that obviously the direction's in your favor, but you can really be put in an unfortunate situation if you buy the highs, right, and you ride it all the way back down. It's super important to understand that when trading a stock or when putting money into a stock that is this volatile, it's great when the direction is in your favor, but when you're reaching super overbought levels like this, looking at the MACD, looking at the RSI, just looking at previous patterns, right? You could see that maybe it's not the best idea to partake during that time. So as of right now, we're still trading below the SMA line, right, or the moving average. So I wouldn't be too excited about that. So if we begin to pull on back, then again, I'm not gonna really focus too much on this, but I can see why you're paying attention to it. It looks like it's getting ready as it's building a support level at the moving average. We'll see if it actually begins to trade above the EMA line and or if it gets rejected and continues to sell off. One of the things that I always want to encourage you is to be selective. The more you hold back from buying a stock early before you get confirmation, the more you could potentially save yourself money, right? There are a few times that you're like, dang it, I should have really gotten into that stock. But more often than not, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can agree, you enter too quick and then it doesn't go according to plan. And that's one of the worst feelings. So how can you learn from that? Well, learn from your mistakes, right? Really challenge yourself and hold back from entering too early, where if this thing gets rejected and continues to sell off, you're going to thank yourself, right? Because you were able to understand that it wasn't fully indicating signs of an uptrend and that it was, pulling on back on that part. So all right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So the ticker call out format, we got Armando with SNDL. So SNDL. So this is, all right. Here we go. On the 4-hour time frame, I want to look at the overall direction. So again, I have a really big focus on direction and SNDL based off of recent patterns. The direction is quite the opposite. It's not in your favor. It's making lower lows and lower highs. A very simple way that I can put this for you. First off, this is also trading below $5, which makes it a lower cap stock. This is for all the beginners. I'm not here to discourage you to trade something that you want to, right? You guys are all mainly adults to some form of degree, right? And or if you guys have a custodial account, then you should have parent supervision. At the end of the day, you need to take accountability for what you trade. And I don't want to stray you away from these lower cap stocks, but more often than not, these continue to sell off. They're very risky and the direction is just simply not in your favor. in very simple words, if something is losing money over a grand period of time, why would you ever want to put money into it when you already know that it's consistently losing money and therefore the direction is not in your favor? It's consistently making lower lows and lower highs. So you're really basing that trade or that play based off of luck or hope that it just all of a sudden begins to shoot up. And I think that once you put that into perspective, maybe if you know about some news or something that's about to happen that might cause the stock to experience a push, then so be it. But you need to make sure that it's valid, right? It's not just someone else saying that, hey, this is about to happen. There are so many times that it doesn't end up happening and then that stock just continues to drop, and that is really going to discourage you from ever wanting to trade. So I would personally have to say that, I would stay away from something like this. Here we go, ENPH. So here we go. So ENPH, it looks pretty decent here. Let's see. All right. So we could see a pretty consistent resistance level right around 195, 194, around this general area. Would you agree? And the way that I view this is that it's not that resistance levels are not able to be broken above, right? Obviously, if something is making higher highs and higher lows, there's this consistent ascending uptrend pattern. But one of the things that I have to point out is you need to be very realistic with yourself. And you can see that it had a very strong rally, right? It peaked at nearly highs of 230. But ever since that peak, it pulled back, it tried to recover, it couldn't recover to previous highs, it pulled back, it tried to recover recently, and it got rejected. So what can we do here? Well, I think that we're at a potential resistance level. So I can go ahead and set my alert, and if we actually begin to trade above 200, then again, I can follow up with this if it continues to indicate signs of an uptrend. Or I can identify that, hey, realistically, this is a resistance level. It's bound to pull back and maybe it can make a recovery, but I would rather buy when it's a little bit more on the cheaper side and some upside margin versus buying and then it pulls on back. Do you get what I mean? It's understanding what is going on or what has happened before and trying to anticipate that based off of previous patterns. So we can set alerts on both sides. Again, if you're going to talk about the upside and the potential about a stock, you need to make sure that you do your future self a favor and take into consideration the risk in play. Alrighty, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So yeah, there was a lot of different momentum plays last week, right? There was that very popular stock. So we got ticker symbol AA, what's going on, Mighty Mike? Appreciate you tuning on in, man. So we got ticker symbol AA. On the 1 year, 1 minute chart, the 1 year, 1 day chart, we can see that it's very bullish, very consistent. The direction is in your favor, and it recently pulled on back from highs of 57 to where we're at right now, which is around $50 a share, right? So this isn't crazy margin, but it should be a little bit over 10% from 57 is the overall highs. On the 4-hour time frame, you guys might be able to see it a little bit more clear. One of the things that I wanted to share with you guys is I got a really good question on my previous videos, and you guys have seen that I shift from the 1 year, 1 day chart to the 4-hour, 180-day chart. And some of you guys that are just watching this, you're like, how do you justify or determine what time frame is most useful? At least, again, this is just from my experience. I always like to look at the bigger picture time frame so I have a better understanding of the true direction of a stock, right? So it's great to look at the 1 day, 1 minute chart of a stock. As you can see how it moved within that 1 day, right? So if I look at the 1 day, 1 minute chart for AA, I can see that it peaked at almost $51 and sold off for the remainder of the day. But if I wanted to invest and or go in for a swing trade, meaning holding for a number of days, 1 day of information or movement isn't really going to be super useful. So this is where you can take a further step back, look at the day chart, look at the 4-hour chart, and then have a better understanding of, hey, is this something that's a good deal? Is it, how's the direction? Is it consistent? Is it all over the place? Does it meet my criteria? So with this, from the 1 day to the 4-hour, my encouragement for you is never be afraid to test different time frames and different time frames for different stocks, as different stocks react differently depending on the parameters that you have set up. based off of, I use the moving average and the EMA line. And it might look kind of choppy or difficult to see on the day chart, but maybe if I go to the 4-hour chart, they become a little bit more clear. Be empowered to test different time frames to see, depending on the stock that you're trading, what is most useful for you. So I hope that makes sense. From where we're at right now, if it were to make a full recovery, a little bit over 17% ROI, I definitely see why you're paying attention to it. My only encouragement for you, I think it was like Mighty Mike, right? I would definitely set an alert. I would set an alert if this thing begins to indicate actual signs of a recovery. Then yeah, this would definitely be something, that I would find attractive. It's bullish, it's consistent, it recently pulled on back, but I would hate for you to buy the dip and then guess what? It can continue to sell off. So because of that, prove it to yourself, challenge yourself, really allow the opportunity to present itself. And if it does, then great. And if it doesn't, then guess what? You just saved yourself from a bad trade. And all you have to do is give the stock time and set those effective alerts. Let me know what you guys think about that. So, hey, Ricky, anyone ever tell you look like Beyonce? Oh, dude, I get that all the time. Let's go ahead and break down. Let's see. So, hey, Ricky, thanks for doing this. Of course, Rudy, I appreciate that. I wanted to get a show of hands. How many of you guys know about our grand opening for the HQ, for the TechBuds HQ this upcoming Saturday? I know it's in Arizona, right? I posted it on my Instagram if you guys follow me, but I'm not too sure if the people on YouTube, I haven't posted anything on YouTube just yet. I just wanted to see a show of hands of if you guys are in Arizona, do you guys plan to come? But yeah, so yes, but I live in Minnesota. No, I totally understand. Yeah. I mean, it's just going to be our grand opening in the following week. We should be having it open to our members and stuff like that. But yeah, it's open to the public. So we're going to be doing our grand opening on the 30th of October. So in 6 days? It's our grand opening. It's open for 4 hours to the public. We're going to have food, tours of the HQ, music, stuff like that. Just a very short, it's just an office, right? It's trading offices and stuff like that. But then the day after, on the 31st, Learn Plan Profit 2.0 drops. So for all those that have been waiting for the update, yeah, it's all happening, and it all happens in the next week. So we're also doing a very big giveaway, right? I'm sure some of you guys might have seen. We're giving away a MacBook, the new MacBook Pro. So we're giving that away off of TechBuds Apparel. So yeah, I'm pumped. I hope that you guys are too. So a little tangent. So will the course change? It's a full update. So it's not just that we're updating a couple videos. It's a full update. And my commitment to everyone that was part of Learn Plan Profit, the original, gets access to this update automatically. So that was a way that it was a commitment that I made when I first created Learn Plan Profit. So I'm very happy to have stayed true to that commitment, that instead of just creating a new version and potentially being able to sell it, I wanted to give everyone access that had access to the first one to that second one. So just wanted you guys to know that that's all happening within 1 week. So will the old videos be deleted? We won't be selling the old one, but if you are in the old one, you will have access to the new one and the old one, but you will only have access to the old one. So yeah, all right, let's go ahead and see you at the bottom about what's going on, Rick. Here we go. Let's go ahead and move on. INTC, I'd be happy to break that one for you. INTC. All right, so we got Intel. Intel's definitely been struggling ever since they announced that they're going to be slowing down the manufacturing. This is for micro devices, right? AMD has been killing it. INTC has not, to put it into perspective, right? I feel like INTC has really been losing its momentum in comparison to its direct competitor, which would be something like AMD. AMD's been thriving. It's the new kind of like newest and greatest in microchip manufacturing or whatever it is that they actually do. But you can see just based off of their performance versus Intel, I'm never here to tell you that they can't make a comeback. I just feel like INTC and what they've shared during their earning reports really does reflect their trade price, right? We could see that it's been choppy. We could see the overall lows, a very common support level at 45. So we'll see if it can drop a little bit more, and a common resistance level right around, that's 64 to 69 general areas. So again, it's bearish, it's pulling back. It's not as consistent and definitely not as bullish or thriving like something like AMD. So you can let me know what you think about those two. So can you look at Google? Of course. Let's go ahead and look at Google. So Google recently pulled on back, just like Facebook, Snapchat, Pinterest, all of those different stocks, right? Due to Apple's update, and we can see that it pulled back a little bit. Again, this is a company that's worth 1.85 trillion, so I think that they'll be fine, but they did take a big hit. 3% for them is pretty significant. If they recover to previous highs, which it wouldn't really surprise me, that's 6%. And this is something that I always share with our beginner traders, is that everyone's always, when they're just getting started, super eager to catch, the next big stock, the next big thing. And so little people are focused on maybe paying attention as you're just getting started to a stock that moves like this. It offering 6%, the average beginner trader is not going to find that very attractive. But all I have to share with all of you guys is that you need to learn how to walk before you run. And a very common mistake that beginner traders make is they jump into the very aggressive moving stocks. They lose money, they get discouraged, and then they never want to touch the stock market again. When you can take very simple steps in approaching the market in a much more, I would say, just like realistic, I would say, with more realistic intentions. It's not that you can never trade those aggressive moving stocks, of course, right? But like we said, you need to learn how to walk before you can run. And why not build your confidence, build your experience, and build that track record and the do's and the don'ts with something that moves a little bit slower. So if it's not going according to plan, you can give yourself time to make informed decisions versus make impulsive decisions on very risky and volatile plays. That's just my 2 cents. I'm not here to, I'm not your therapist, but if you are someone that is struggling with lower cap stocks, maybe it could be a breath of fresh air for you to focus on very bullish and consistent stocks. That's all I'm trying to say. So let's go ahead and break down Uber from Robert. So here we go. When it comes down to Uber, recent pullback, overall highs of 64. So the thing about Uber, just like we saw with Airbnb, it's more of a recent IPO. They're not very consistent, right? So if I were to ask you about Uber, right, you'd say, okay, yeah, it hit highs of 64. It's pulling back right now. It's kind of all over the place. There's no clear direction. There's no clear pattern. It's kind of just like it's trying to figure itself out. Where if I look at something like AMD that has been trading for much longer, that's a little bit more established, or that trades a little bit more consistently, then I would have to say that, this would instill a lot more confidence in my trading when I choose to buy the dip versus something like Uber that is kind of all over the place. That's just me. It's just the way that you see value in certain setups. Right now, Uber is getting rejected by the moving average. It looks like it's about to break below the EMA as well, potentially drop right back down to $38. There is no reason I would see myself buying this right now as it's struggling to trade above that moving average. That's all I would have to say about that. I'll set my alert and we can simply follow up with it then. So I admire your intelligence, passion, knowledge, and experience. Thank you for sharing. I'm learning so much from you. You're quite special. Your kind of is embedded into your... Oh, I appreciate that, Judy. Thank you. I really do. That's the nicest message I received today. So I really do appreciate that. Hopefully I earn your thumbs up. But let's go ahead and break down to the next one. So, all right. We got, this is Josue. So RXL. Alrighty. So I like this. Ultra Healthcare ETF. What is this? Pro shares. This has to be an ETF, right? Yeah. So very bullish, very consistent. An ETF, a quick little heads up for those that are unaware, an ETF tends to decay over time as it gets rebalanced. If you're an absolute beginner, In very simple words, this is probably just not something that you want to hold for a very long period of time due to that decay. You could also see that this thing has much lower volume. So on the 1 day, 1 minute chart, I would have to say, because of how much I trade with, right? We all have our own criterias. I would just say that this thing has too low a volume for me to want to trade it or to feel comfortable trading it. I love the way that it trades in the big pictures, but with how it's trading in the day to day, it can get very easily manipulated. I can see quick shifts of direction. Because of that, due to the lack of volume, it just doesn't meet my criteria. I love how bullish it is. I love that it pulled back. Hopefully you loaded up here when it was establishing a support level at the moving average. It began to trade above the EMA line, which is a step in the right direction. So the more it continues to uptrend, the more I would really step on the gas up into a point where you shift from buying to then selling as we begin to approach previous resistance levels. So nonetheless, wish you nothing but the best with that trade. So let's go ahead and do two more. Again, it's about to be 7 p.m. here in Arizona. I need to grab some dinner and then get ready for tomorrow's live trading session. Friendly reminder, if you've never, again, and I can see in my Instagram messages, if you've never tuned on in to any of my live trading sessions, they're private, right? Message me in the description on Instagram. I only have one Instagram account. Message me on Instagram and say, I want access to tomorrow's live trading session. Nothing else. I respond to all of my direct messages, but you need to make sure that it's your first time. If it's not your first time, I'm not going to continue to give you access to it. So I appreciate that, Jackson. Thank you. So let's go ahead and move on to the last two. So, look at Jim. His favorite thing to eat, ticker symbol ASS. All right, here we go. All right. CRTX. I'd be happy to break that down. CRTX, you at least gave something behind it. You said it's at a potential support level. So on the day chart, I can see that. This one would also have the quality of not being as consistent, right? It hit highs of 122. It aggressively pulls back to $60. Take that into consideration. Think about that movement. It pushed up to highs very quickly, to highs of 122, and it aggressively dropped. This is happening right now with that DWAC stock. Everyone thinks that nothing is ever gonna, stop that stock, and it's all those beginners that are super hopeful. That stock shoots up, which is great, but for those that don't know when to call it quits and to pull out and to lock in profits, you tend to, be left with the bag, right? And it drops 50%. And moments like that really discourage you, right? And this is why it's so important to understand how stocks move and why they move that certain way. So if you want to trade a stock like this that pumps up just as quick, you can't be surprised when it corrects itself even quicker, right? So yeah, I do agree that it's establishing a potential support level. We'll see if it begins to indicate signs of a reversal. I would set an alert, but just because of the way that it moves, it would not be something that I would personally want to trade it myself. So the Johnson fam, what's going on, man? I appreciate you tuning in and hope you're doing well. So let's go ahead and finish it off with Snapchat. So I'm sure some of you guys might have seen Snapchat reported earnings. This is I think a great way to end it. Snapchat reported earnings and they didn't meet their earnings per share, which just pretty much means that they weren't as profitable as expected for that specific quarter. But what they shared is what caused other stocks like Facebook, Google, Pinterest, and Twitter to drop as well. And that was that, because of Apple's new privacy policy, that they are restricting these applications to collect third-party cache data, which simply means it sounds more complicated than it actually is, right? So the way that I want to explain it to you is, how does Facebook and all these other social media platforms such as Snapchat make money? They sell ads to advertisers, right? If I want to get my stuff in front of you, I can pay to get in front of you. But one thing that these social media platforms were doing very effectively is that they were able to collect third-party data, meaning that when you visit other websites, what you're searching for, what you're looking for, what you're interested in, they can collect that data and then better target you with more specific and more aggressive, right, ads. But Apple's like, no more. We're not going to allow our Apple users to be targeted this way with that third-party cache data. So now it's simply saying that it's going to be more difficult for these advertisers or these platforms to be able to more effectively target you. This causes companies like Facebook and Snapchat and Twitter to potentially lose out on some money as they become, in a sense, less attractive to advertisers. So we see a big drop, 27%. A very simple question to ask yourself is, and this is something that only you can answer. Snapchat was obviously doing very well. They're very bullish, very consistent. They hit highs of $83. But from where we're at right now, if it were to make a recovery, it doesn't have to, but if it were, this would offer over 50% ROI. So a simple question to ask yourself is, do you think that Snapchat is going to crash and the company is going bankrupt? And the reason I ask you this is that's a very extreme question, but I want you to take that into consideration that, if you don't expect Snapchat or Facebook or Google or Twitter to crash and to no longer recover, I view companies like this that, I do see them to recover over a period of time. I do view this to be bad news, but there's a difference from bad news than news that, really defines a company. So I just think that this is an overreaction, that once it does find a support, which it doesn't have to be here, Snapchat could still sell off, so you have to be careful. But this is why it's so important to understand when a company reports earnings, when it drops, what caused that drop. There's a lot of times that even something like Facebook, right? As we're on the subject, Facebook dropped. It's at the moving average on the day and the year chart. Do you really think Facebook's going anywhere? No, I don't. Facebook owns Instagram, they know WhatsApp, they own everything, right? I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they're entering one of their strongest performing quarters. It's Q4. There's a bunch of money that's poured into advertising. Facebook being one of the largest platforms, if not the largest, they run their, Facebook tentacles in every application, right? They own WhatsApp, they own Facebook, and they own Instagram. The three of the largest used social platforms in the world. I don't think they're going anywhere. So what do? In moments of fear, that's when I really decide to load up on it, and then I benefit from the recovery. So as everyone freaks out, I'm not saying that buying now is the best idea, but it's knowing when to buy that can really determine and make the difference. So I just wanted you to have a little bit of a better understanding of what caused these stocks to drop versus, you freaking out and thinking that it's at the end of the world. So it looks like we have a lot of people. Okay, I'll break it down. I'm fine with breaking it down. I generally don't care for it, right? But love to break it down. So obviously, looking at PHUN on the day chart isn't going to be very useful, but I'll look at it on the 5-minute chart. How does that look like? So it looks like it was trading at lows of 98 cents just 3 days ago, and then it shoots up to 24%. So right away, and again, we have people on YouTube, and you'll see, right? There's people in Reddit. I'm never here to persuade you to do something, right? If you want to trade a stock like this, go for it. But you just need to understand that you are putting yourself in a position that is a little bit riskier and a lot riskier. And the reason I say that is sometimes I feel like you have to make a mistake to learn from it. You have to almost experience it yourself. I just want you to do it in a way that doesn't discourage you. So all I have to share with you is, first off, I would not trade PHUN. I think it's a pump and dump. I think it's going to, just like every other pump and dump, after it loses its momentum and loses its hype, and people lose their butt when it pushes up to $24 and then it pulls right back to $8, because it gets halted every minute. It doesn't allow traders to really benefit and reap the benefit of that push because of how much it gets halted, and it kind of interrupts that momentum, and then people just give up. But if you want to experience it, all I have to share with you is do it in a tasteful manner. If you traded with $1,000, do it with a fraction of that. I just want to make sure that if things don't go according to plan for you, that it doesn't discourage you. I personally would not touch this, but also I'm also not someone that tries to make 500% in one day, right? Because just as much as you can make 500% in one day, you can lose, right? If you bought at highs of $24, which is everyone watching this, if you're not in it already and it pulls on back again, that's a 72% loss. So all I have to share with you is anytime someone tries to convince you to do something, that should be a huge red flag. If they talk to you about how much money you can make, ask them, well, how much money can I potentially lose? There's two sides to every opportunity. Some are riskier than others, but at the end of the day, you are the final decision maker on where you choose to invest or trade your money. So please, if you're someone that's just getting started, make sure that your actions are something that align with someone that's just getting started. Stop trying to make the most money right now when you're not giving your future self a chance to do well, because you're trying to rush the process. Embrace the challenge. Embrace the struggle, because like I'm sure we can all agree, it's always the most difficult things in life that tend to follow with the greatest fulfillment. And trust me, the stock market is no exception. So ask them how much they have in it. Anytime someone tries to convince you to do something, that should be a red flag, right? I love talking about stocks that are cheap. I love talking about stocks that I'm invested in. But every single time that I talk about any stock that I'm invested in, I always talk about the risk involved. I always, if I buy early and that stock is still selling off, I even make videos explaining why you shouldn't buy, on why I would wait to buy if you even decide to do so. You need to always be looking out for your future self. So, that's really just it. So I first off wanted to thank you guys. I know you guys, for those that especially stayed here for some time, it really does mean a lot to me that you guys hang out here. As you guys can see, we're almost at 1 million subscribers on YouTube. I hope that I can see some of you guys at our HQ grand opening in just a couple of days. So again, our grand opening for our TechBud headquarters, which is going to be our trading center, is on October 30th. So if you plan to join us, again, all you have to do is message me. And this is to everyone, right? So if you want to join our live trading session tomorrow at Market Open, you don't have to do anything special. You can just refresh the screen, and in the description, you have my Instagram. If you already follow me on Instagram, then just message me there. I can give you access if you've never tuned on in, but that's really just it. So I hope that I earned your thumbs up in this video. Please consider subscribing. Turn on your post notifications so when it is that I go live or upload a new video, you'll get reminded and alerted. So like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.